Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Jack, and today we're going to be talking about self-discipline. We're very lucky to have Elena here today, who's an expert on this topic.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Self-discipline is so important for so many different parts of our lives.
It really is. And we hear all the time, just be more disciplined. But that's not very helpful advice, is it?
No, not at all. It's like telling someone who's sad to just be happy. It just doesn't really address the underlying issue. Self-discipline shouldn't feel like, a constant uphill battle. If it does, you're probably doing it wrong.
That's a really interesting point. So how should we be thinking about self-discipline then?
Well, I think it's more about, trying to find ways to enjoy the process. When you genuinely enjoy what you're doing, you don't have to force yourself as much.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. When I'm really engrossed in a project, I can work for hours and hours, and I don't even feel tired.
hmm
But how do we find that enjoyment, especially with tasks that we may not love?
Well, it starts with knowing your main thing, right? What's the most important thing to you? Like the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. This helps you focus your energy and your efforts. There's a great saying, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable.
Oh, I like that one. So you're saying that without a clear goal, we're just kind of drifting around.
Yeah, exactly. When you know your destination, any wind can help you move forward.
So setting clear goals is a really important first step.
It is, but don't try to do too many things at once. If you set too many goals, it becomes overwhelming and you actually end up being less disciplined.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes I get so excited about a bunch of different projects and then end up feeling totally overwhelmed that I don't get anything done.
That happens to a lot of people. Try to focus on just a few really important things. I heard someone recommend setting just 3 or 4 major goals for the entire year.
Wow, only 3 or 4. Seems so simple.
It might sound simple, but the power is in the focus. Imagine this. You only have 2 hours a week to spend on something. What would it be? Okay, now what if you had 4 hours a week? Thinking like that really helps you see what's truly important.
That's a great exercise. It definitely forces you to prioritize.
Right. And then once you know what your priorities are, you can make time for them. It all starts to fall into place.
Which brings us to the next challenge,
Right.
right? Actually starting and sticking with those tasks. I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I'm definitely one of them. That desire to do everything perfectly. And sometimes that can stop us from even getting started in the first place.
That's such a common problem. We get so caught up in trying to make everything perfect that we end up paralyzed. And we forget that finishing something, even if it's not perfect, is always better than not doing it at all.
So how can we overcome that desire for perfection and just start making some progress?
Well, one really effective way is to break things down into really small steps. There's this idea called the fog behavior model, and it explains this really well. Basically, it says that for any behavior to occur, you need 3 things. You need motivation, ability, and a trigger.
So the trigger is like a reminder to start the behavior.
Exactly. But even if we have the motivation, if the task seems too difficult, we're not going to do it. The key is to make the task so easy that you can't say no.
So instead of trying to write a whole chapter, maybe just write one paragraph.
Right. By focusing on these tiny actions, you're much more likely to actually do them, even if you're not feeling super motivated.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, anyone can find 5 minutes to write, but writing for 5 hours straight can feel daunting.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is that once you start there, you often find that you actually want to keep going. You start to see some progress, you get into a flow, and that gives you even more motivation.
It creates like a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
Small actions lead to more consistency, which then makes us want to do even more.
Yes, exactly. And this not only helps you overcome that fear of perfectionism, but it also helps you build self-discipline over time.
Because the more we do it, the more we build our confidence in our ability to actually follow through.
Yeah. Exactly. And this can then spill over into other areas of your life, too. You start to trust the process, even when things are tough.
You learn that even when you don't feel like doing something, you can still take action.
Right. And you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level.
Speaking of understanding ourselves, I think we all have these internal conflicts when it comes to self-discipline, right? There's this part of us that wants to do what's good for us, and then there's this other part that just wants to be lazy and do nothing.
I think that's a really good point. It can feel like this constant battle between, doing the right thing and giving in to temptation. It's important to remember, though, that those impulses, those are normal. They're a part of being human.
So we shouldn't just try to ignore them completely.
Not necessarily. I mean, trying to suppress those parts of ourselves entirely can actually make things worse. Yeah, there's this method called internal family systems therapy that suggests a different way to handle these inner conflicts.
That sounds interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure, it encourages us to recognize and accept the different parts of ourselves. So instead of seeing them as enemies, we try to understand their needs and we find ways to make them work together.
Okay, so for example, instead of beating myself up for wanting to play video games all night, maybe I should try to understand why I'm feeling that urge in the first place.
Exactly. Maybe you're feeling stressed or overworked and you just need a way to unwind and relax. So instead of judging yourself, you try to find a healthy way to meet that need.
So it's about finding a compromise between my video game self and my responsible self.
Yeah, precisely. Maybe that means setting aside a specific time for gaming each day, but with a strict time limit so that you can still get enough sleep. Or maybe it means finding other ways to relax that fit better with your overall goals.
It's like negotiating with yourself to find a solution that works for all those different inner voices.
I love that that's a great way to put it. And the more you practice this, the better you become at understanding and managing those impulses. It's all about becoming more aware of yourself and finding a sense of inner peace.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's not about being perfect all the time. It's about, finding a sustainable way to manage our impulses and make choices that support our well-being.
Exactly. Self-discipline is all about finding that balance. And it's also about, creating routines that help us reach those goals. Think about your daily routine for a second. Do you have set times for things like work, exercise, relaxation?
I've definitely noticed that having some kind of routine really helps me stay focused. I'm much more likely to procrastinate if I don't have any structure to my day.
Routines can be really powerful tools. They give our day structure, which can reduce decision fatigue and make it easier to stick to those goals.
Because we're not constantly having to decide what to do next. We just follow the plan.
Right. But it's important to remember that there needs to be a balance between structure and flexibility. If our routine is too rigid, it can become really difficult to maintain.
So it's not about following a strict schedule to the letter. It's more about having some general guidelines that we try to stick to.
Exactly. Think about all those successful writers out there. Some of them have very specific daily routines that they follow religiously, while others are much more flexible. The key is finding what works for you and allows you to be consistent.
There's that word again, consistency. It really seems like that's the foundation of self-discipline.
You're absolutely right. Consistency is about showing up for yourself every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about trusting that those small, consistent efforts will lead to big results over time.
Which I think can be really challenging in a world where we're constantly bombarded with new productivity methods and tools. It's so tempting to keep trying new systems, thinking that the next one is going to be the magic bullet.
I totally get that it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that there's some perfect system out there. But the truth is, the best system is the one that you actually use consistently.
So are you saying that we should just pick a system and commit to using it no matter what?
Yeah, pretty much. Ryan Holiday, he's a very successful writer, and he's been using the same note card system for years now. He even admits that it might not be the most modern system, but the consistency that it provides has allowed him to achieve some pretty incredible results.
So it's about finding what works for you and sticking with it even when it's difficult or, maybe even a little bit boring.
Absolutely. Discipline isn't always about, excitement or novelty. It's about that quiet determination to keep showing up every day and doing the work even when no one is watching.
That's such a powerful message. It reminds me of something you said earlier about delayed gratification.
Mm.
Self-discipline is about choosing long-term goals over short-term pleasure.
Exactly. It's about understanding that sometimes the most rewarding things in life require patience, perseverance, and a willingness to be uncomfortable while we grow.
And that brings us to another really important part of self-discipline, which is managing stress and negative emotions, right? It's so much harder to stay disciplined when we're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out.
You're absolutely right. Stress can completely drain our willpower and make us much more likely to make those impulsive decisions that we later regret. That's why taking care of our mental and emotional well-being is so crucial.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress, like exercise or meditation or spending time in nature, can actually improve our self-discipline in other areas.
Yeah, it's all connected. When we take care of ourselves, we're creating a stronger foundation for self-discipline.
It's like building a house. You need a solid foundation before you can start adding anything else.
I love that analogy. That's a great way to think about it. And part of building that strong foundation is learning to be kind to ourselves. Self-discipline shouldn't feel like a punishment. It's about respecting ourselves and making choices that align with our values.
Which also means forgiving ourselves. when we make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all slip up sometimes. And beating ourselves up about it is only going to make it harder to get back on track.
I completely agree. Self-compassion is such an essential part of the journey. It's about accepting that you're human and allowing yourself to learn and grow from those experiences.
It sounds like building self-discipline is really about, developing a new mindset, a way of approaching life with purpose and self-awareness.
I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. It's not about forcing ourselves to do things we hate. It's about understanding what motivates us, setting clear goals, and finding ways to make progress that we can sustain over time.
It's about understanding that it's a journey, not a destination, and that there will be challenges and setbacks along the way. But the important thing is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep moving forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources available to help you, things like therapy, coaching, support groups.
That's a good reminder sometimes. Just talking to someone who understands can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And don't forget to celebrate every step you take, every effort you make, no matter how small.
Because those small wins add up over time, right? And they create that momentum that we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. And eventually those small wins lead to big changes. You start to see how your self-discipline is impacting all areas of your life.
You feel more confident, more in control, and more capable of achieving your goals.
And that feeling is so empowering. It gives you the courage to keep challenging yourself and keep working towards becoming the best version of yourself.
So it's not just about achieving specific goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve those goals.
That's it. Self-discipline is about developing a strong character that can handle life's challenges and come out even stronger.
Elena, thank you so much for this incredibly insightful conversation. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
The pleasure was all mine, Jack. I always enjoy these conversations.
And to everyone listening, we hope you found this helpful. Remember, building self-discipline is a journey, and it's a journey worth taking.
We encourage you to think about what you've learned today and ask yourself, how can you use these ideas in your own life?
That's a great question to ponder. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
We'll see you on our next episode.
So it's like, it's not just about getting to a specific place. It's about becoming the kind of person who can get there.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's about building that strength of character that can handle anything life throws at you, and you come out the other side even stronger.
Elena, this has been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
It was my pleasure, Jack. I always learn so much from these conversations.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope you found this helpful too. Remember, building self-discipline is a journey, but it's a journey that's definitely worth taking.
We hope you'll take some time to reflect on what we've discussed and think about how you can apply these ideas to your own life.
That's a great thought to leave us with. Until next time, everyone keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best versions of yourselves.
We'll see you on our next episode.